that we are strongly believers that it has to go with the a better work organizations on the field. I mean, we have to find ways to convince people in both sectors to work full time. But how do we do that? Putting more money on the table, because we don't want to force anybody to do anything. But I mean, we have to convince people to come help during the weekend, at nights, in emergencies, to make sure that we have a workforce that's sufficient to give the services that we are required to give as a government. So that's the way we are approaching things. How can we convince you to come work full time? How can we convince you to work on weekends? How can we help and convince you that we cannot lower the amount of students in each class, because we cannot do that into 2023, but we are willing to give you some help. But how can we help you without doing that? So those are the gist of the discussions that we have with the unions right now.
And we're still it's important to stay away from a back-to-work legislation.
Well, I mean, this is something that we have to work out with the unions. I'm convinced of that.
We're still hearing concerns, though, about salary as well. How far are you willing to go at this point to prevent the strikes from dragging on past Christmas?
Well, like we said previously, I mean, I could have a solution that's very short time, and I could satisfy them on their salary demand and close the deal as we speak. And I don't think that would satisfy them, because they have demands also in work organization. They're putting all the focus on the salaries right now for the argument for the strike that they are putting forward. But I mean, when we talk to nurses, when we talk to teachers, I mean, they're talking about their workloads. They're talking about what they have to go through day to day on le plancher, on the floor where they're working. So I am convinced that salaries are something that we have to talk about. But let's not forget that as this year, 2023, I mean, we just gave them, nurses and teachers, salary rémunération. Increases, thank you very much. Increases that were around the range of 16%. I mean, I'm doing an average, you understand that. And as soon as we had given them that, I mean, the arguments that were coming back to us, to my colleagues, is like, it didn't change anything in my class, it didn't change anything in my hospital, and we are determined to do something to change that for them and for the population.
Mr. Dubé, just quickly, what kind of an impact are the strikes having right now on the healthcare system?
Well, I mentioned a week ago that the major impact is on the surgeries, as an example. I have also the issue that on vaccination, I'm not able to vaccinate as much as we would like to do, because we're missing nurses on vaccination process. So there are many impacts. We recognize the right of strike, we recognize that, but I think that's the reason I was talking to the patients at the beginning of my presentation. We have a lot of empathy for the patient right now, because we already are exiting from a difficult period of the COVID, and this is a very difficult timing for the network. So hopefully we can find a solution very quickly.